couple days later. It's a Friday evening. I got about an hour or so I can put into this. I'm getting closer. Closer to pulling the motor. Last time I got the rear end loosened up. Because tonight I'm going to start by getting in here and getting, should be 2 of those bolts. There they are along the top there. Those 2 bolts out. At which point I believe I can pull this shaft back, get some leverage to pop this off so I can get back in there. That's where I'm going to start. Okay, you know, I actually didn't need to take these bolts out to get the rear end off. Once the 2 bolts holding the lower part of the swing arm, those studs were out, and the shock was loose, just wiggling this back and forth and pulling it out, slid it off this drive gear. This bushing, I guess I'll call it, not really a bushing, but that came off on that side. The other thing to watch out for is on the side of the shock here with these 2 rubber bushings. They both fell off. There's one on either side, so those are back. So I am going to take, you know, I would have figured this out eventually. There's 4, 1, 2, 3, and the 4th is out, bolts to take this plate off. And now I'm not sure what that gets me unless it allows me to get this worm gear off. But I may not need to do that out here on the bike because I can probably take the whole motor out as it is here. I am expecting it to be a bit of a pain to get this rear end back on because I'm going to have to get these gears to line back up, and I'm going to have to rotate this as I try and slide it back in. But for now, I think we're one step closer to pulling the motor. All right, I ended up taking the head off and trying to turn it, crank it again, and it's still hitting down in here. And I can't see around this piston any indication of what's rubbing, so we're still going. I am disconnecting the battery next. I did snap a bolt off here, and notice that this battery box is held on with some kind of a roofing screw. Yeah, so we'll take that off, we'll get the battery out of the way, we'll disconnect the starter, and then we gotta disconnect a few more things, and then we'll pull the motor. Starter should come out with what looks like a 10, and probably it is an 8 mil. Yep, 1, 2, slide that out. Actually, I don't even have to take that. I just have to disconnect up here. That's all I'm going to do. Let's not make any more work. We've got plenty of it. Gonna have to look a little deeper here, but taking off the exhaust to get out the motor belt, I'm finding that I believe this wire is all here because this exhaust can is split. And I think that all of this over the years is a fix-it job. So we may be in for some form of aftermarket muffler that can get on here. I don't know what kind of noise that's gonna bring, but that certainly looks like some kind of an air gap. So let's take this off. All right. I can just hear the rust in there. It's split. I'll have to give some thought as to whether it's salvageable. All right, motor mount. It's gonna be a bit of a pain. I'll tell you what I should do though is put this case back on so I don't get all kinds of dirt down in here. I'm doing here is, because I'm working alone, I get my vice grips, hold one end here up tight against something, and then go hit it with air from the other side. Now, one thing I like to do is push the bolts out with a screwdriver so I'm ready to lift the motor off. Just makes things easier. There's one. Got to undo the wiring. I have a green comes up, connects into, as I just disconnected it, another green. Yeah, light green. No, that's more of a light blue. Runs back on the harness, back towards the, what looks to be the rectifier. So yeah, I guess I'm going to call that a light blue back to a light blue. And then I've got all the whites into this plug, and these. And then I should have the wire harness loose. And I've got the big, this is coming off the battery grounded to the case. Here's the other end here. Got to disconnect that. And then I've got this one here, green yellow stripe, also back to the case. Gonna have to disconnect from somewhere. Looks like it comes back up into this harness. Way back into the harness. Probably best to disconnect this from the motor if I can get at it. Okay, we're loose. I put this bolt back in just finger tight for the battery, big wire. This one here, I did have to use the breakout tool. This is an indispensable tool to get this one loose here. I'm gonna have to look up what this may be, but that's what goes pinched in there. One more thing to disconnect. I'm probably a few minutes from lifting that whole thing out.
Great.
And then I got to get all my stuff organized so I remember where everything goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, good job, right?
Well, not yet. Taking it apart's the easy part.
Well, I mean, not everybody can take it apart. I can't take one apart. So, you know, there's that.
That's all there is to it. Pulling forward, shifts it into the different ranges, and there is just a threaded bolt holding all of that in. I'm gonna finger tighten it back in so I don't forget where that one goes. And I disconnected, oh, there goes my speedo gear. Disconnected this end from the top of the case here, and I'm gonna do the same thing so that I remember where these bolts go. I do believe that's the last thing holding the motor in. All right. We did it. There she be. Everything but the heart. It did make a bigger mess out of that oil coming out of there. I just kept this, you keep finding more and more oil in a case. I drained it, drained it again, and then as I keep cracking over, more and more oil comes out. So, all right, we're cleaned up. We have snow coming in tomorrow. I'll end up covering this up. But the next thing is split the case. So this is where it's going to rest for now on its angle. Everything else is going to kind of goop out here into this towel. Got parts laid out here. Some of the bolts set back in so I remember where they go. A little Allen for the bottom sitting down in here. Labeled bags. Some of these will also end up in labeled bags just to keep it easy. Here's the bolt and the rubber grommet that I'm not sure what I'm going to do about. These are for the exhaust. And I've got a snapped off bolt on the edge of the battery here, and if this battery is good, we'll get that bolt out. We'll find a spare, put it back in. So here we are. But for now, that's a night. We'll keep working another time.